We're here in Warsaw, Hilton Hotel, November, with a very special guest on invitation by XTB, Mr. Madsem Mikkelsen. Welcome.
Thank you.
So how many times have you been to Poland and what do you find interesting about the country? Maybe you can tell us a little bit.
I believe I've been here 4 times. I've been 3 times in Warsaw, 1 time in Krakow. Krakow I was playing poker and I was working in Warsaw. And often when you work, you don't really get to see where you are. I haven't really walked the streets. But what do I find interesting? I mean, it's a neighbor country for me. It's the neighbor of Denmark. And I find it fascinating that it's Poland is historical in the way that it has come back stronger than ever after obviously being center of the history throughout the First World War, the Second World War, and before that. And now, when you look at it coming stronger than ever back, it's just fascinating to see a city rise like this.
Almost 40 movies, critical acclaim for many roles, Hannibal series, obviously. Do you feel like an accomplished actor, or is it still a lot that you think like you want to do? You feel like you want to do?
Well, it's interesting because 20 years ago when I started, I didn't think about where I wanted to go. I had no dream about going to America. I didn't have any dreams about working in Poland. I just wanted to work. And it's all been like little stepping stones that has led me to where I am now. And I'm trying not to be too ambitious on my career, but I'm trying to be very ambitious on everything I do. So the stepping stones becomes the most important part of my job and not the goal itself. So in terms of like what I want to do now, keep working and hopefully I'll meet some interesting people.
I would like to ask you about the most important role, first artistically and then success-wise, in your opinion.
It's very difficult to say what's most important for an actor. There are certain things that you've done that nobody saw, but you yourself might have learned something from it. And a film that I would mention in that sentence would be a dark comedy called The Green Butchers, which is completely crazy and mad, but I was very proud of it. A film that has done something for me and which I also love to be in was obviously The Hunt with Thomas Vinterberg, by Thomas Vinterberg. And another film that did something for me internationally, I have to say the Bond film Casino Royale, because that kind of placed me in the conscience of American audience as well.
So the Hannibal series, also extremely popular in Poland, must have been a challenge. Very difficult plot, complex character. Anthony Hopkins is the Hannibal in movies.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction and how do you see it now when 3 seasons are over?
Well, I think we were all a little scared of diving into the universe of Hannibal, not only because it's been placed on a film, and for me especially, it was Anthony Hopkins did it to perfection. So what could we add? But given the fact that this was not a film, it was a TV show, long-running, that you could do something completely different with the show. We all looked at each other and we said, okay, let's go for it and let's give it a try. Well, I loved every second of it. It was very complex. The characters are very complex. The scenes are extremely complex and intellectual. But I think it was a very brave show, and it's something I learned a lot from, and I also cherish it a lot. So maybe one day it will come back. Let's cross our fingers.
How did it happen that you were chosen for the role of Hannibal?
I don't know exactly how it went down, but the writer, also called the showrunner, and in this case Brian Fuller, had seen me in different Danish films and a few American films, and he mentioned me to my co-star who already had the job, Hugh Dancy, and I knew him for 10 years. That was my very first job in America, and he loved the idea. So I did a casting, and I think we were down to 5 or 6 people in the end, and I got it. And I don't know exactly why, but I think the chemistry between me and Hugh was really good, and it was something that Brian Fuller wanted to dive into and expand on.
You played roles of many villains before. Hannibal also is an example. Do you think of playing good guys any soon?
Yeah, I don't only think about it, I do play good guys. Okay. I mean, the last few Danish films I've done has been normal people, or good guys if you would call them that, or or even the French films I've done and the German film I did. I don't divide them up into good guys and bad guys. It is true that in America I have been playing predominantly bad guys, but let's wait for Rogue One. That might be different.
In general, when you look at your career, what do you think was the key factor for your success?
I think a success will always be a combination of a lot of things. I think that we were very lucky and we were also very talented to have Denmark placed on the map in the middle of the 90s. That was actors, that was directors, writers, everybody working together as a unit, and we created something very interesting for the rest of the world, and all of a sudden Denmark was on the map. And when we were on the map, the actors were on the map, and then we start getting jobs outside Denmark as well. But I think it's a dedication. I'm super dedicated to everything I do. I simply can't sleep at night if I feel that we're doing something wrong. I have to approach it and I have to challenge it constantly. So being at the right time, at the right place, and then have a certain amount of talent, I think that's the key.
Despite international fame and constant traveling, you still live in Denmark. Is homeland important to you? And how do you think that this might change in the coming years, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, I am Danish, and I think that we just mentioned in the beginning. What do I find fascinating? I mean, I don't know Poland that much, but I can feel it's Poland. I can feel that people are proud of being Polish, and I am proud of being Danish, and that's what I am. That doesn't mean I'm there a lot because I work abroad a lot of the time, but every time I come home, I feel that's my base. This is what I am. This is my language. These are my stories. So I think the base is important for everyone.
Tell us if maybe there is any actor that you look up to in terms of workshop, intensity, charisma. Anybody maybe before or here now also that you like to somehow look up to when you do a character, for example?
I don't think of any actors when I do a character. I have to think about the character and the script and whatever the director has in mind. But obviously I'm inspired by a lot of people I've worked with recently or many years ago, but also somebody I just watched when I was a kid. I was a big fan of the Martin Scorsese period with Harvey Keitel, Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken. That was a gang of people that I found extremely interesting to watch. But when I was a kid, I think that my big heroes were two, and that was Bruce Lee and it was Buster Keaton. And it's interesting why, because when I look at what I do today, not that I think that I have a lot in common with them, but I am inspired by how they could tell a lot of stuff with very minimal expression. Both of them, the second they did a little thing, the sky would open. And I'm just always been fascinated with the power inside of those characters.
You're in a great physical shape. How do you manage to keep fit despite traveling and your tight agenda?
Well, I think it's a combination of two things. I believe that I have a very high metabolism, which is unfair. I'm aware of that. And I also love doing sports. I do sports constantly, and I don't have to force myself to do it. I play tennis, I ride my bike, I go boxing, I play basketball, and it's only because I love it. I would spend my whole life doing that if somebody wanted to pay me for doing it. But so I guess that's why I'm in shape.
What is your approach to investing and money management in general? And maybe also, can you tell us a little bit about your conception of financial stability?
Mm-hmm. Well, financial stability is either for me or for the world, right? For me, stability is that I can go to sleep and wake up and had a good night's sleep, not being nervous about what's going to happen tomorrow. I think that's financial stability for a lot of people. Well, investment for me has always been like something out there I didn't really understand, and I bought a house. And I think that everybody tells me that is an investment, and I'm very pleased because I know about it, and it's something I use. For other people, it's something else. It's something that they don't necessarily get their hands on, but they understand the mechanism of investing, and that is also extremely fascinating. But I think you have to be aware what kind of person you are before. I mean, investing can be anything. Put your money in the bank is an investment. Put it in a house or buy an ice cream. It's all investment. You just have to figure out what kind of person you are and what kind of investment you want to do.
We talked about financial stability and money management. What do you think about economy, finance, entrepreneurship as a subject in schools being taught from early years?
Well, I think it's interesting if you teach children how to use your your 10 thingies, whatever it's crowns or dollars or zloty or whatever it is you have. I mean, obviously 10 is worth something in your hand, is worth something else in the bank, and it's worth something else if you put it in a share. But then there's a risk as well, and you have to understand what the risk is, right? So I think that it would be interesting that people knew how that world moves around, because politics is about money, but you rarely talk about investments. And I think it would be very interesting that you had that subject in school from a very early age. At least that you have your own opinion and you understand what you're talking about. What do you say, thank you? In Polish.
Dziękuję.
How's the short version?
Dzięki.
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 Genghis Khan?
Yeah, like your favorite murderer.
One of them.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the interview. I hope to see you soon again in Warsaw, in Poland. You're more than welcome.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Dzięki.